From being a kid to having to a kid, how my stepmom made that a story. Original post, OP. So, I, 17M at the time, now 28M, was kicked out of my dad's house when I was a teenager. Not because I was a bad kid, not because I got in trouble, but because my stepmom told my dad I was dangerous and disrespectful. It still feels surreal to type this out. My mom passed away when I was young, and my dad remarried when I was 14. At first, everything seemed fine. I tried my best to bond with her, but she always treated me more like a burden than a son. She had her own kids from a previous marriage, and I quickly noticed that they got everything: the new clothes, the birthday parties, the hugs. Meanwhile, I was the reminder of his old life. Things escalated when I turned 17. Suddenly, she started accusing me of things I never did, lying about money going missing, telling my dad I had a bad attitude, even saying I was making her uncomfortable. None of it was true, but she was so convincing, and my dad, he just believed her. The night it happened, my dad came into my room looking heartbroken. He told me, "I can't have you disrespecting my wife in my home. Maybe it's better if you stay somewhere else." Just like that, I was handed a trash bag with my clothes, $40, and a pat on the shoulder. No discussion, no chance to defend myself. I was gone. I couch surfed with friends, worked whatever jobs I could, and barely scraped by. I felt abandoned, unloved, and angry. For years, I barely spoke to my dad, and my stepmom. Forget it. As far as I was concerned, I didn't have parents anymore. But here's where it gets interesting. A few weeks ago, I got a call from my dad. He sounded shaken. He asked if I could come see him. Against my better judgment, I agreed. When I walked into his house, the same house I was kicked out of, he looked like a shell of himself. And then he told me something that floored me. I know the truth now. Update 1. Apparently, my stepmom's lies had finally caught up with her. Over the years, her kids grew up and moved out, and some of them confessed to my dad that she had been manipulating him all along. She wasn't just lying about me, she had been stealing money, cheating, and gaslighting him constantly. The money I supposedly stole. She took it. The disrespectful comments I made. Fabricated. The bad attitude. Just me existing in a house where I was never wanted. My dad looked me in the eye, crying, and said, "I failed you. I chose her over my own son." Here's the twist: my stepmom left him. She cleaned out their joint bank account, drained his retirement savings, and ran off with some guy. Karma hit hard, but the damage was already done. My dad is alone, broke, and begging me for a second chance at having a relationship. I don't even know what to feel. Part of me wants to scream at him for ruining my life, for abandoning me when I needed him most. Another part of me still remembers when he was just dad, before all this. I never thought I'd see the day the truth came out, but here we are. And now I'm stuck asking myself, can I forgive him, or is it too late? Update 2. When I first posted, I didn't expect so many people to care about my story. But the response made me realize something: my life didn't end the night I was kicked out. In a way, it started there. And now, after everything, I finally get to tell you what life looks like on the other side. After reconnecting with my dad, I didn't rush forgiveness. The wound was deep, and years of silence don't just vanish. But slowly, we started to spend time together again. At first, it was simple things: coffee on Sundays, lunch after work, little check-ins. I wanted to test if he was serious about being in my life, not just looking for a free ride. To his credit, he never asked for money, never begged. He just wanted time. Meanwhile, my life had gone in a direction I never imagined. After being kicked out at 17, I promised myself I'd never depend on anyone again. That promise became fuel. I worked brutal shifts, took double hours, and learned how to save and invest wisely. Eventually, I scraped together enough to take a risk, opening a 7-Eleven franchise. That one store turned into a small empire. 10 years later, I own several locations across the state. I have financial security that teenage me could only dream of. I live in a house I bought with my own money, drive a car that actually runs, not the old rust bucket I used to beg to keep alive, and most importantly, I built all of it on my own terms. When my dad finally opened up about the truth, about how my stepmom had lied and manipulated him, I saw how broken he was. He'd lost money, his marriage, and most of his dignity. But what struck me most wasn't the tears in his eyes. It was the way he looked at me when he said, "You turned into the man I should have raised you to be. I don't deserve forgiveness, but I'd be honored if you let me be in your life again." So I did. My dad moved in with me about 3 months after that talk. And here's the part people never expect. He's not sick, he's not frail, he's not dying. He's healthy. He still gets up early, still takes his morning jog, still nags me about eating more vegetables. He even helps around the house, cooking, fixing things I never get to, keeping the yard in shape. Honestly, he's probably more active than me. We've built routines together. On Saturdays, we hit the grocery store. On Sundays, we watch old movies, the ones we used to watch before everything fell apart. He's even started helping out at one of my stores part-time. Customers don't even realize he's my dad, they just know him as the nice older guy who jokes about Slurpees. Is it weird, living with the same man who once threw me out with nothing? Absolutely. Sometimes I still wake up angry, remembering that night. But then I'll come downstairs, see him making breakfast and humming to himself, and I realize that this version of my dad is different. He's humbled, he's learned, and for once, he's trying. As for my stepmom, she found out about my success and tried to reach out. First, it was through a letter, then an email, then texts. She wanted to make peace, but it was obvious what she really wanted: money. She even hinted that I could help her get back on her feet. I didn't answer. She made her choice years ago. She's not a part of my life, not now, not ever. Now, it's just me and my dad. And the most surprising part? It feels good. For the first time in a long time, I feel like I actually have family again. He's not the perfect dad I once wished for, but he's present, he's healthy, and he's here. And honestly, that's enough. Update 3. So, some of you have been asking what happened after my dad moved in and we started rebuilding our lives. Well, it all came to a head last week. And no, it wasn't subtle. I was at one of my 7-Eleven stores, doing my usual rounds, checking inventory, talking to employees, making sure everything was running smoothly. It had been a normal day, until I heard a familiar voice behind me. Well, look who's finally making something of himself. I froze. I didn't need to turn around to know who it was. My stepmom. She strutted in, wearing the same smug smile she had when she got me kicked out years ago. She was bold, clearly expecting some sort of reaction, maybe guilt. She even had a little smirk about her, like she owned the place. "I see you're rich now," she said. "Thought I'd come see if you could help me out. I've had a rough time since things ended." I didn't even flinch. My dad, who had come along to check on me, stepped forward. And this is the first time in years I saw him confident, calm, and unafraid. "You're not welcome here," he said. "Not in my son's life, not in my life, not in this store. Leave. Now." She laughed. "Oh, come on. It's me. Don't tell me you're going to turn your back on family after all this time." I finally turned fully to face her, holding back the years of anger. Family doesn't kick someone out with a trash bag when they're 17. Family doesn't lie to your husband to take money and ruin lives. You made your choice. And guess what? You're done. Permanently. Her face faltered, the confidence was gone, replaced with shock. My dad stood tall beside me, his hand lightly resting on my shoulder, showing that we were united. "You've had your chance," he added. "We're done here. Leave before I call the police." She hesitated, looking around the store like she was trying to find some sympathy. There wasn't a single employee who blinked at her. Nobody was going to play into her theatrics this time. Within a few moments, she stormed out, yelling insults that fell completely flat. And that was it. She hasn't reached out since. Emails, calls, texts, all blocked. She's gone from our lives, permanently. After she left, my dad and I stood there for a moment. I realized something: we didn't just survive her, we thrived despite her. We built our lives, our empire, our relationship, and there's nothing she can do to touch that. For the first time in years, it truly felt like closure. Now, we're just living our lives, enjoying our stores, laughing at the little things, and planning the future. My dad is healthy, happy, and fully part of my world. And the best part? There's no drama, no manipulation, no one trying to tear us apart ever again. We're finally free. Update 4. After the stepmom incident, life slowed down. And honestly, it felt amazing. No more chaos, no more lies, no more fear of being abandoned. Just simple, steady life. My dad and I settled into a rhythm. Mornings are quiet but full. He still goes for his jogs, I check my stores and run errands. We have breakfast together most days, coffee, eggs, sometimes pancakes on the weekend. We talk about everything, from small gossip in the neighborhood to big dreams for the future. The stores keep growing steadily, but there's no frenzied scramble anymore. We've got trusted employees, smooth systems, and the money isn't a source of stress, it's just a tool to make our lives better. I even started setting aside more for vacations. For the first time in years, life isn't survival mode, it's living mode. Weekends are our favorite. We go fishing, watch old movies, or just sit in the yard drinking iced tea. My dad laughs more than he has in a decade. And me? I can finally relax without that lingering shadow of betrayal hanging over my shoulder. The most surprising thing? We're happy. Truly happy. No drama, no external threats, no stepmom trying to manipulate us, no fear of being kicked out. Just father and son, healthy, thriving, and finally at peace. It's a strange feeling, after all the chaos we went through. But I can't imagine life any other way. We fought through lies, manipulation, and years of separation, and now we get to enjoy the quiet victories, the ordinary moments that actually mean the most. For anyone reading this, here's the takeaway: sometimes life throws the worst at you, but if you survive it, you can get to the part where it's just good. And that's exactly where I am now. Update 5, Slow Burn version. Life had been going well for me and my dad. Stores running smoothly, mornings full of small routines, and evenings spent just enjoying each other's company. Everything felt balanced. But life has a way of adding new chapters when you least expect it. It started small. Emily came into one of my stores on a rainy Tuesday, accidentally knocking over a display. I helped her pick it up, joked about the chaos, and we laughed. She came back a few days later, this time on purpose, asking for a recommendation on snacks for her little weekend study group. I offered a few suggestions, and we ended up chatting for nearly 20 minutes. Over the next few months, she started showing up more often. Sometimes to the store, sometimes messaging me with questions about running a business, or just sharing funny stories from her own life. Our conversations grew longer, more personal, and I found myself looking forward to them more than I'd expected. I didn't realize when it shifted from casual friendship to something deeper. Maybe it was the way she remembered tiny details about my life, or the way we could talk for hours without awkward silences. Or maybe it was just that I felt lighter around her, like I could finally stop carrying so much of my past with me. Dad noticed too. He teased me gently about someone making you smile like a kid again, and I laughed it off, but deep down I knew he was right. It wasn't sudden. It was quiet, gradual, and real. I was falling for her without even realizing it, until one evening, after a long day at the store, she invited me to dinner. And sitting across from her, sharing food and stories, I finally admitted it to myself: I liked her. A lot. We started spending more time together, going on hikes, grabbing coffee, laughing at dumb movies, and sharing bits of our past. She had no idea about my stepmom, the lies, or the chaos of my teenage years, and I didn't tell her yet. I just wanted to enjoy knowing her, step by step. Then, just when things felt perfect, a casual mention from Emily about her family made my stomach drop. She mentioned her aunt, and I froze. The connections clicked, memories surged, and I realized with a sickening clarity, she was related to my stepmom. My mind couldn't process it immediately. The girl I had been falling for, someone I trusted and liked more every day, was her cousin. Shock, disbelief, and a strange mix of anger and sadness washed over me. For the first time in years, I felt powerless. My past had quietly crept back into my life, entwining itself with something I thought was purely mine. And just like that, I had to pause everything, my growing feelings, the relationship, and even the hope I had started to build, to confront this impossible connection. Life, it seems, isn't done testing me yet. Update 6, Expanded Version. After the shocking revelation about Emily, I thought my heart would never be able to trust again. I avoided dating, avoided connections, even avoided noticing people in ways I used to. For a while, it felt safer to bury myself in work, running the stores with my dad and just enjoying our simple life. Then, one evening, at a charity event for local businesses, I met Lila. She was different from anyone I'd ever met, calm, kind, with a warmth that made the room feel lighter. She wasn't loud, dramatic, or complicated. She didn't carry a past like Emily did. She was simply there, smiling, talking, being herself. We started talking casually. At first, it was small things, a joke about the weather, sharing a funny story about the chaos of running stores, a mutual appreciation for bad coffee. But slowly, something deeper began to form. I found myself thinking about her constantly. Replaying her laugh, remembering the way she tilted her head when she was curious, thinking about what she might be doing at that very moment. Days turned into weeks, and every time I saw her or got a message from her, it was like a spark ignited in my chest. My dad noticed, of course. He didn't tease this time, he just gave a quiet, knowing smile when he saw me distracted by her texts or drifting off into thoughts about her. I couldn't stop thinking about her. On my way to the stores, I'd imagine what she might be doing. While preparing meals at home, I'd catch myself wondering if she'd like what I was making. Even in quiet moments, sitting on the porch with my dad, my mind drifted to her smile, her voice, her presence. She became the center of my thoughts, not obsessively, but undeniably. We started spending more time together intentionally, coffee dates, hikes, cooking together, just being around each other. Every shared laugh, every quiet conversation, every moment of comfort only made me think of her more. Slowly, carefully, I realized I was falling in love with her. Not a reckless, whirlwind kind of love, but a steady, consuming, all-encompassing love that filled the spaces left by years of chaos and heartbreak. For the first time in years, I could imagine a future, one where my dad was healthy, my business was thriving, and love wasn't something to fear, but something to embrace. Lila became my anchor, my distraction in the best way possible, and the one thought I couldn't shake. And as I watched her laugh one afternoon while we baked cookies for a local shelter, I realized something. For the first time in my life, I felt like everything might just be okay. Update 7. Time had a way of moving fast without me even noticing. I turned 31 recently, and looking back, it felt like a lifetime since the chaos of my teenage years, the betrayal, the stepmom, the lost years. And yet, somehow, I had arrived at a place I could barely have imagined back then. Lila and I were officially dating, and every day felt like a new discovery. It wasn't about dramatic gestures or over-the-top surprises, it was about comfort, laughter, and shared routines. Mornings were spent over coffee, teasing each other about who made the better toast. Afternoons were for work, but we often texted throughout the day, sending random jokes or little updates just to hear each other's voices. Evenings were for cooking together, binge-watching old shows, or simply talking about dreams, fears, and plans. I noticed that my dad had settled into this new rhythm too. He was healthy, energetic, and happier than I'd ever seen him. Seeing him and Lila interact brought me a strange, warm sense of completeness. She treated him with respect and kindness, and he treated her like family instantly. It was a world away from the chaos of the past, a world I had helped create. Turning 31 felt different than I expected. It wasn't about parties or gifts. It was about looking around at the life I had built, my dad healthy and smiling, my business thriving, and love, finally, pure and uncomplicated. Lila had become my constant thought, my joy, and my anchor. Sometimes I still catch myself thinking about the past, the stepmom, the mistakes, the betrayals, but instead of pain, it's just a reminder of how far I've come. And every time I glance at Lila, laughing at some silly joke or sharing a quiet smile, I feel grateful. Life isn't perfect. There are challenges, work struggles, and the occasional heartache. But for the first time, I'm not scared of what's coming. I have love, family, and stability. And for now, that's everything. Update 8. Turning 31 had already been a milestone, but life had a way of showing me that the best chapters often come quietly, with subtle shifts that change everything. Over the past year, Lila and I had grown closer than I ever imagined. What started as casual conversations and small, shared moments had blossomed into something steady, comforting, and undeniable. She had become my constant thought, my joy, my calm in the storm, and the person I couldn't imagine life without. Dad was right there with me through it all. Healthy, energetic, and happier than I'd seen him in years, he had become not just a parent but a true friend and partner in running the stores, in making life worth living. He'd tease me occasionally about being distracted by Lila's texts or smiling at nothing while thinking about her, but it was all in good humor, a reminder that he had witnessed my struggles and was genuinely proud of how far I'd come. This particular weekend felt different. It was my dad's birthday, and I wanted it to be special. I had arranged a small celebration at one of my stores, not for business, but for family and love. Lila had helped me plan it in secret, and I could see the excitement in her eyes. The store had been decorated with simple but elegant touches, balloons, lights, and a few photos capturing memories of our journey, from the early days of rebuilding the stores to the quiet mornings we shared over coffee. Dad walked in first, his eyes lighting up as he saw the room transformed. "Wow," he said, his voice filled with genuine emotion. "You did all this?" I smiled, knowing he felt the love and effort behind it. Lila came in next, and the two of them instantly connected, laughing over small jokes and teasing each other gently. Watching them together, I realized something profound. My life had finally reached a point where love, family, and happiness could coexist fully. As the evening unfolded, I found myself stealing quiet moments with Lila. We talked, laughed, and shared stories while the celebration carried on around us. I noticed the way she looked at me, gentle, encouraging, filled with warmth. And in that moment, I felt it again, that steady, all-consuming love that had grown slowly, quietly, and surely over the past months. I reached into my pocket, feeling the small, cool weight of the ring I had bought months ago but had been too nervous to present. Tonight felt right, though. Not because of grand gestures, but because of everything, the journey, the growth, and the life we had built together. I thought of my dad, healthy and smiling, his presence a reminder that love and family could endure even the hardest trials. I knew he would support me, quietly cheering me on as he always had. The night grew late, and the celebration wound down. Dad and Lila were laughing over a shared memory from earlier that day, completely absorbed in each other's company. I watched them and felt a rush of gratitude, for my dad's health, for Lila's presence in my life, and for the hard-won peace we had finally achieved. As I looked at Lila, I knew I couldn't wait any longer. This wasn't about fear or hesitation. This was about love, about choosing the person who made my heart feel whole every single day. I took a deep breath, smiled, and whispered, "There's something I want to ask you." Dad glanced up just as I knelt before her, and for a moment, time seemed to pause. The room, the laughter, the years of struggle, they all felt like they had led to this one perfect instant. And while the story of that moment, and her answer, would be for another day, I felt a profound certainty. Life had finally aligned. The past was behind me, my dad was healthy and happy, and love had returned in a way that was steady, real, and unstoppable. This wasn't just a chapter. This was the beginning of a new book, one where family, love, and life's milestones were celebrated together, and where the future felt open and endless. Update 9. The day had finally arrived. After months of planning and quiet anticipation, Lila and I were getting married. Standing there in front of our closest friends, family, and of course my dad, I felt a sense of peace I hadn't known in years. The chaos of my past, the stepmom, the heartbreak, the struggles, felt like distant shadows. What remained was love, family, and a future full of possibilities. Dad walked me down the aisle, strong, healthy, and beaming with pride. I caught his eye and saw the years of struggle, loss, and joy reflected in his smile. He had always been my anchor, my guide, and now he was sharing this moment with me in full strength. Lila looked stunning, radiating warmth and joy. As I took her hands in mine, I realized how much she had changed my life. She wasn't just someone I loved, she was my partner, my confidant, and my best friend. And standing there, I knew I was ready for all the adventures life had in store. The ceremony was beautiful, simple, and heartfelt. Friends and family laughed, cried, and cheered us on. Every moment was a reminder of how far we had come, from chaos to calm, from heartbreak to happiness. After the wedding, life settled into a comfortable rhythm. Lila and I moved into a home that felt alive with love and laughter. We spent evenings cooking together, weekends exploring new places, and mornings with coffee in hand, sharing small joys. And then, the greatest gift of all, kids. Our first child arrived, filling the house with laughter, tiny cries, and the profound realization that life was full of second chances. Dad was overjoyed, doting on the baby, and embracing his role as grandfather with energy and excitement that never waned. The little moments, bedtime stories, walks in the park, and quiet family dinners became treasures that grounded us in gratitude and love. Watching Lila hold our child, I felt an overwhelming sense of completeness. This life, healthy dad, loving wife, and a new family, was everything I had ever wanted. All the pain of the past seemed to melt away, replaced by joy, stability, and a future that felt bright and endless. Life wasn't perfect. There were sleepless nights, challenges at work, and small disagreements. But through it all, we had each other, a family forged from trials, resilience, and love. And for the first time in my life, I felt truly, completely home.